Good morning, Packers fans, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. So this will be my second part on the Senior Bowl players to keep an eye on for the Packers, guys that fit their scheme and the type of players they like to draft. So obviously, I will be focusing on defensive players. Like I said, last time was offensive players. If you haven't seen that one, go back in my other videos and check that one out. And come back and watch this one. Okay. So all right, let's get to it. So we're gonna start with the edge rushers. So it's a pretty good class overall. But the thing is, the Packers are kind of specific with the type of edge rushers they like, as far as size and athleticism, stuff like that. So the list isn't that long. So the type of guys that they would like first one would be Chris Braswell from Alabama. He was teammates with obviously Turner, but he kind of fits more the Packers style, what they like with their edge rushers. He's a bigger dude, 6'3", over 250, 255-ish, with a long 33-inch arms. They like guys with at least 33-inch arms. And he's also more of a power rusher, which the Packers do like. They like guys who are power rushers. He would fit the scheme, the type of guys they would like. And he could come in and easily be number 3 edge rusher as a rookie. Obviously, a lot would depend on when Kingsley is back and all that stuff. But he would more than likely anyway be the number 3 guy coming in. Next would we have Braden McGregor from Michigan, another big dude. He's a bit bigger, 6'5", 270. Not a lot of pass rush production, but he's been a good solid run defender. But this year was his first year. He actually he started and put a little bit of pass rush production, but he just had 5 sacks, not a lot. But he still has potential there. Where at worst he could be a decent, solid rotation guy, even if he doesn't really develop as much as a pass rush, just because he's already a good run defender and he plays hard and all that stuff. So that's another guy that could potentially take, and he could, as a rookie, be probably number 4 edge rusher. I don't know about number 3, but he probably be at least number 4 as a rookie. So another guy that they could potentially look at is Marshawn Kneeland from Western Kentucky. He is another big dude, of course. 6'3", 277 with actually 34-inch arms, so he's got long arms. And so he fits obviously the thresholds, or size thresholds, like I said. He's not an elite athlete. He's not as athletically advanced as some of the other guys, but he is more technically advanced. And but he can see he's good at he can set an edge. That size and strength, he can set an edge. And he's productive, but he lacks the burst to close a lot of times. So he gets a lot of pressures, but he doesn't get a super lot of sacks. But again, another guy that could fit with the Packers like in their edge rushers. And next we would have Cedric Johnson from Ole Miss. Again, another big dude, 6'3", 262 with 33-inch arms. He also he's flash potential throughout his career at Ole Miss, but he's never really reached it. He never even had a really year where you could look at that one specific year and be like, oh man, that was the year that he really showed what he could be. It's just here and there, little bits here and there, a game here or there, so on and so forth. But there's still the potential there, like I said, so he could potentially develop. He would probably come in again, be a number 4 guy while he learns and develops. But again, like I said, he's another developmental guy. And for how big he is, he's kind of interesting in how long his arms are. He's not great against the run, so that's something that he would need to work at. Like I said, he would probably maybe even have a redshirt year more or less, where he doesn't play a super lot. And then finally, the last edge rusher I have on my list is Eric Watt. He's an edge from UConn, actually. 6'5", 273 with actually really long arms, 35-inch arms. So I think the Packers would love that. But athletically, he's okay. He may or may not meet the Packers thresholds. It's hard to say right now. Kind of actually same thing with earlier. Kneeland, he may or may not meet them. It's hard to say right now. But as a guy, at least I tagged early on right now to keep an eye on as a potential Packer from the Senior Bowl. But as far as with Watts, again, not a great athlete, but decent athlete. And early on in his career, he wasn't a very good run defender, but he's developed pretty good. Especially this last year, he played really well against the run this past year. And his pass rush production has been kind of up and down. Back last year in 2022, he had 8 sacks, but this season he only had 2. The pressures are still kind of there, but still the production is up and down a little bit. So that's a little bit It may not be his fault. It's hard to say. It could be just the defense and the guys around him. UConn doesn't have a super lot of talent, so that could be part of the reason. So that's just something to keep an eye on and watch his film to see if is it his fault or is something he's not doing, or if it's just like I said, the talent around him and their teams are just keying on him and they're just leaving the other guys alone, basically. Okay, so moving on to the defensive line, we got Darius Robinson from Missouri. He actually plays as an edge defender from Missouri, but because of his size, and his potential, or his size potential, I should say, to fill out and stuff like that, he's probably more of an D lineman in the NFL. He goes 6'5", 291 with long arms. It's also 35-inch arms, and he is really well put together, even though he's not your typical defensive lineman as far as weight wise. He's under 300 pounds. He is really well, like I said, really well put together. He's got huge arms, not just length. He's got big muscular arms. He's got a big, well-built body. So, but like I say, he's got the frame put on, probably another 10 pounds. But he definitely can see snaps playing some edge in NFL, of course, depending on what defense he plays in. But he can definitely do that. And of course, he's a power rusher. You can tell that by looking at his body. He's a power rusher, and he actually this was his best season where he had 9 sacks. So he's developing as a pass rusher. He's showing some the upside and stuff like that. Like I said, he can play everywhere, basically except for nose tackle. And he should test really well. He's a pretty athletic dude. He should probably might even have like a freak type testing, 9 RAS, stuff like that. And he would be a good fit with Green Bay too, because he would give Green Bay that quote unquote true 5 tech that they haven't had in a while. So he'd be a good fit in there. He could do that. Plus, like I said, he could play in the spots. He could play 3 tech, 4 tech, 4 I, 3, 2 tech, whatever. Okay. But he would be a good fit. So moving on, another guy, Brandon Dorlus from Oregon. Somewhat similar to Robinson in that he played up and down the line. He played edge, I'm sorry. But he probably more of a defensive lineman. He did play on the D line as well at Oregon, but he mostly played edge. But him being 6'3", almost 280, and he's got a kind of this wide, thick lower body, looks more like a defensive lineman. And reports were that he's been heavier at points in his career, early in his career, like his freshman, sophomore year. He was 290-ish or close to 290. So I would think that he's probably going to bulk up a little bit when he gets to the league. He might probably be a little bit heavier when he gets to the combine, even maybe. Unless he really drops a bunch of weight and tries to stay at edge. But I still think he has more of the body of a defensive lineman. But he's got good arm length, and he's always had a lot of pressures in his career, created a lot of pressures, but not a lot of sacks. He's had issues, converting those. And since there's a lot of talent in Oregon, I don't think it's a talent that he's surrounded with issue. I think it's just he's not really just made to be a edge rusher. So you move him inside, play him on the D line, bulk him up a little bit, and I think you'll start seeing a lot more conversion of those pressures to sacks. And of course, if he was with the Packers, they'd probably have him add 10 to 15 pounds, well, probably at least 10 pounds as a rookie. And he would see in the rotation. Of course, you'd see him on the edges, on the ends. I'm sorry, as on the D line and stuff like that. He would probably be the number 4 or 5 defensive lineman as a rookie, depending on how things go and whatnot. But he would be a fit for them as well. Another guy that's been one of my guys for seems like 2-3 years, Rook Aurora from Clemson. Another good sized guy is 6'4", almost 290 with 33-inch arms. He's a very good athlete. And interesting about him is he was kind of raw coming into Clemson, but he ended up having to play a lot due to other guys being injured that were ahead of him in the depth charts. So he actually has a lot of experience now, but he's still developing. Like I said, he can play anywhere. It's kind of like some of these other guys, anywhere from 2I to 5 tech, any of those type positions. He's played some nose tackle and 1 tech and stuff like that at Clemson, but he just didn't look as effective. He had trouble dealing with double teams. He had trouble holding his ground against double teams, getting off double teams, stuff like that. He can defend the run, but just not at a nose tackle where he's doing possibly 2 defenders. So I wouldn't put him at nose tackle really, or even really 1 tech, but anywhere else on the defensive line he can play. And he's doing his best when he's just attacking, penetrating, one-on-one with blockers and stuff like that. And so he would give, again, similar to some of these other guys, he would give them a good rotation. He'd probably be number 4, number 5 edge rusher, or not edge rusher, sorry, defensive lineman. and so he would fit in the rotation. Another guy that would fit the Packers, Brian Murphy from Texas. A lot of people like him. He's kind of a squatty kind of dude, 6'1", 308, but he's really quick, really explosive, good with his hands, just flies through the line all the time, just blows past centers. If you go watch some of his film, you'll see him just blowing past guys, just screwing, really screwing up the passing game, sometimes in the run game, stuff like that, making running backs jump to the outside and whatever stuff they don't want to do. He's just a guy that creates havoc in the backfield. But for his size, he's actually a pretty decent run defender. I wouldn't put him at nose tackle. Maybe he could play maybe a couple snaps a game, but I really wouldn't do it. But anywhere else he could play, he'd be fine. Probably I wouldn't play him all the way up to like 5 tech, but more or less anywhere else. I wouldn't play him that far out because of his height, and we don't have official arm length measurements on him, but it doesn't. He's probably not going to be 33 or 34, probably around 32-inch arms. So I wouldn't really put him on the end at 5 tech or anything like that. But he did have 6 sacks this year, which doesn't sound like a super lot, but they run such a heavy rotation at Texas that it's actually a good number, like I said, because he only played, I want to say maybe 500 something snaps this year, which is not a super lot. Like I said, because he played rotation, so he had really good pass rush productivity. And he's got good hands, like I said, and will fit in with the Packers, like I said. And so another guy, similar type body, Dwayne Carter from Duke. Dwayne, though, is 6'2", 308. Again, squatty build, like Murphy, but he's got that quick penetrating style. He really broke out in 2022. He had like 8 sacks, bunch of pressures. This was just all up and down the line, dominating. This past season, he didn't play as well, but I still think truly that's kind of that you're looking at what he potentially could do or could be on his 2022 film. He does need to work better, improve his play on against the run. So that's something that if the Packers did draft him, it might push him down the depth chart a bit, where maybe even he is not activated sometimes on game days, until he gets better at that, or unless even if he shows he can get better at that in training camp or preseason. But otherwise, he's probably going to be a bottom of the depth chart type of guy, at least as a rookie, until he improves that. And then, again, for his size, though, he has good length. And he has positional versatility, like some of those guys he could play down the line more or less. And he would give them, like similar to like the other guys earlier, he would give them a really good pass rush team on that team as line rotation. So next in his line would be Tyler Davis, Rucoro's teammate from Clemson. Similar body shape, but like a similar or different, as I say, play style. So Davis is 6'2", 300 with 32-inch arms, so his arms are a tiny bit shorter. And he shows some really promise in his career as like a potential pass rusher, upside, first round pick type of guy. But he has some couple injuries and he hasn't looked the same since then. But he has developed as a run defender. Early on, he wasn't a great run defender. Now he's a really good run defender. You could probably even play him on some nose tackle plays. But he's he works pass a little bit. He can give you some pass rush. He's not like a sieve there, but he's just a really good run defender. Like I said, you can play him 1 tech, 0 tech, 2 tech, 3 tech, whatever. And he's just going to be a good run defender for you and give you a little bit of pass rush, but mostly just a big dude who can give you some run defensive plays. He would allow the Packers to use Kenny Clark more on the outsides as rusher. And same thing with like Devontae Wyatt and Wooden and all those guys. He'd be able to occupy some blockers for them. Okay, another guy would be Keith Randolph Jr. from Illinois. He's interesting with him. He's not the biggest dude. But the thing about him is he's so well to put together and so massive and muscular and stuff. He looks bigger than he is. And he's basically a nose tackle in a way. He's got his arms are just under 33 inches, so he's got decent arm length. And he can play, like I said, he can play muscle blast. He can play nose tackle. He's not much of a rusher. He can get you, pass rush a little bit, give you make 1 or 2 sacks this season. But his game is going to be being big, strong, defending the run, taking a blockers, stuff like that. So again, similar to Davis, he could be a guy that helps take up blockers for the Packers, other pass rushing defensive linemen to be able to get into the backfield and make plays. And then another guy, kind of somewhat similar to these last 2 guys, McKinley Jackson from Texas A&M. He's really squatty. He's 6'1.5", 320. He's a pretty good solid run defender. He rushed the passer a little bit. Is developing. Actually showed some promise this past year as a pass rusher. But some of the other guys he could team with, TJ Slayton, and really just hold down that D line, that run stop, and allow the guys to get into the backfield and make plays in the backfield. But the only thing I would say with him is he's got some more pass rush upside than TJ Slayton, I think, that could potentially be developed. I don't think he's going to be like a big time guy, but a guy at least can produce more than TJ Slayton. Another guy they could bring in from the Senior Bowl, my final defensive lineman actually, is Jaden Crumedy from Mississippi State. 6'4", 311 with 33-inch arms. He's just a solid all-around guy. He play the run, play the pass. He's not really elite at anything. He's not super good at anything, but he's just solid. Just a solid dude. He can play some, like I said, he can play some nose tackle, and he would just basically raise the floor of the defensive line group. He would fit in with the group, like I said, and he would just all-around dude. Just all-around dude. Nothing really special about him, but he can play. He can help out the D line. So moving on to the linebackers, which the Packers may need if they do cut Campbell. So they could take one of these guys kind of early. So the one of my favorite guys, Cedric Gray from North Carolina. He's very much like the modern type of linebacker. He's 6'2", 230 and runs like a 4.5. So he's what a lot of teams are looking for with linebackers these days. And he's an actually all-around dude, all-around player. Play the run. He can blitz, he can cover. He's a good tackler. He doesn't need to work on getting off blocks a little bit better, but he does have 8 career sacks and 5 interceptions, which is pretty good for a linebacker who's a 3-year starter, basically. So that's pretty good. He's had almost 1 interception, a little over almost 2 interceptions a season. Sorry. And so he'd probably, if he came in as a rookie, if they cut Campbell, he would probably immediately start because his upside's there and he's so athletic and he can do so many different things. I think he would start next to Campbell. If they keep Campbell, obviously he'd probably end up being the number 3 over McDuffie because his upside's there so much higher there. I think he would beat up McDuffie for the number 3 spot and probably just back up for 1 year and then take over after that. And then so another guy they have on the list would be Tyrone Hopper from Missouri. 6'2", 232. Official measurements. I had to think for a second there. And he was just a 2-year starter. He originally was at Florida, and he was a backup, and then he transferred. He's shows some flashes as a blitzer, and he's had 10 sacks over his career, which is pretty good for just a guy who started for 2 years. But his play against the run has been kind of inconsistent, so that's something needs to be worked on. And he needs to improve as a tackler, so he's not quite there yet as like some of these other guys. He's a guy who may need to be just like as a rookie, play basically special teams and maybe like 5 snaps a game here, here and there, something like that. 5-10 snaps a game. But he would be a good special team player as a rookie just because he's athletic and he can run and he likes to hit, stuff like that. So needs some time, but he could potentially be somebody there. Another guy would be some people talked about before, Jalen Ford from Texas. Just over 6'2", 232. He's a good athlete, and he played kind of like a weak side linebacker spot. That's kind of what he would play. I should rephrase that, which is what he would play in the league, because he's not the biggest, strongest dude. But he really came on as a run defender this past year. Previous years, he kind of struggled a little bit with the run game, but he's really came on as a run defender this year. And he's shown pretty strong cover skills for a linebacker, actually. But he's not really a guy you want to take on blocks. But like I said, he's strong cover skills. He has 6 interceptions just over the last 2 years. That's pretty nice for a linebacker to have that. And previous 2 years, his tackling needs to improve, of course. And so as a rookie, though, he'd probably be a backup. He could play actually like the nickel backer role where sometimes the Packers have used a safety. He could do that and drop in coverage and do stuff like that, which he's got the athleticism and skills to do that. So he could do that as a rookie and play some special teams and stuff like that as he develops into a starter down the line. Another guy we got Nathaniel Watson from Mississippi State, 6'2", 247. He's obviously a bit on the bigger side than the Packers have drafted in the last few years, but he actually has pretty decent speed for his size, and he's a really good blitzer. And pass rush, he lines up sometimes on the edge. he actually has 21 sacks over the last 3 seasons, which is pretty crazy for just a true linebacker. He's not an edge rusher; he's a true linebacker. I believe Mississippi has had him line up on the edge a few times here and there, but he's mostly coming off as just a regular blitzer as a linebacker. But his cover skills is kind of a weakness. He's not great going backwards, so that's kind of an issue. But he can play the run, and he's a really good tackler. So he could come in and be just like a 2-down type linebacker as a rookie, and and then maybe even third downs he could slide down to and rush the passer sometimes occasionally to give them some depth on the edge. But I think that's kind of what he could do. And if he develops a little bit in coverage and stuff like that, he could probably maybe develop into a starter. Another guy, I like Tyrus Knight from UTEP. It's not really super well known against like major media or like fans, but again, another 6'2", 235 modern linebacker. He's solid all around, since 2021. And so he's been like 3 years, just solid all around dude. He's an effective blitzer and he's a good run defender. He's been okay in coverage. He could get better. He's shown flashes that he could do better. He has athleticism to get better. It's just something he's going to need to work on. That's really all that really is, though. He just needs to work on it and get better at it. He can do it. Like I said, and he would probably push to start as a rookie if Campbell wasn't there. If Campbell was there, obviously he'd be like the number 3 guy, play special teams and stuff like that. Another guy that I kind of like is kind of interesting is John Trey Hunter from Georgia State. Like I said, he's an interesting story because his first 3-ish years, he bounced back and forth between safety and linebacker. He wasn't completely filled out. His body wasn't filled out yet, so he's a little bit small on the smaller side. He's in the 220-ish range, stuff like that. So he bounced back and forth between safety and linebacker. But he kind of settled in linebacker last year in 2022. They list him at 6'2", 240, but he looks probably like he's closer to 230, maybe 225. We'll see at the Senior Bowl when he weighs in what his weight is at, and even we'll see at the Combine where he's with that. But he's a solid blitzer and cover guy. He's got 3 interceptions in his career. And I mean, obviously he's a good cover guy because he's played some safety, right? But the tackling hasn't been great, especially since he's playing once they switched him to linebacker, he started having some issues with making tackles. So he needs to get stronger, I guess, I think, and just get better tackling, being more physical and stuff like that with bigger dudes. But he could come in and be a nickelbacker again as a rookie, a guy who drops some coverage and stuff like that as a rookie, plays some special teams, and while he develops and learns. Okay, so moving on to corners. One guy who's made the rounds, kind of people have talked about, is kind of interesting. People is Quinion Mitchell from Toledo. And he's 6 foot 200 pounds and runs in the low 4.4s, I should say. But I think is at Toledo they play almost exclusively off coverage. So there are obviously going to be some questions that scouts want answered. Teams want to watch, see how he does at Mobile, see how he does in the Combine too, playing press or playing zone or playing just different coverages, because Toledo just basically had him off coverage constantly. So that's just something that's going to be interesting to see. That's going to be answered. But otherwise, he's had even 6 interceptions the last 2 years. He's had 27 pass breakups. So he has ball skills to do it. That's not going to be a question. He has the ball skills, like I said, to do it. It's just going to be whether, like I said, again, seeing him press, seeing him in zone, stuff like that, just seeing if he can do it. But he has, like I said, the ball skills to do it. The only thing that you kind of think about and worry is because he didn't really play. He basically almost only played in MAC or Mountain West conference schools and when he was there at Toledo. But he did play Ohio State in 2022, but he gave 4 catches and a touchdown, so he didn't have a great game in that game. So again, like I said, the separate competition was going to be something to watch for too as well. Can he handle that separate competition, or was that just a 1-game blip or something? That's something that's going to need to be checked out on. Another guy, so his first name is spelled Chau, but it's spelled Shaw. So Shaw Smith Wade from Washington State. He's a little undersized for what Green Bay likes at 184 pounds, but he's not that far off. Usually like 190. So extra 6 pounds. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to put that on, or even probably will put it on before the Combine. He's been pretty consistent coverage, not high level elite guy, but he's been pretty solid, pretty consistent. He hasn't shown much in the way of ball skills, like not a lot of interceptions or pass breakups. But he has experience in the slot, and he probably would play there as a rookie if he came in. He's had 7 pass breakups, so he'll get his hands on some balls here and there, but it's not much. But again, but we'll see how that goes. We'll see how he looks in the drills athletically and how he works out with the combine. He may be one of those guys that just athletically is just under the Packers thresholds. We'll see for now. It's like I said, it's hard to say. I'm including these guys that I'm not 100% sure yet on if they're going to meet the Packers thresholds, just because I'm not 100% sure yet if they're going to meet their athletic thresholds. But I'm including with that, just like I said, guys I'm not sure that they may or may not. If there's a guy that I know, I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's obviously not going to make the thresholds, then I'm not including him in this list. But moving on, the next guy would be Cam Hart from Notre Dame. He is just under 6'3", 193 pounds. So, he's got that one of those bigger dudes. He's got good length. He's a physical player. He's really talented, but he's just always been a bit inconsistent. Up until this past season, he shows some more consistency. So that's just something you're going to want to see more of him continuing to show more consistency at the combine, at the Senior Bowl. Just showing he's still got room to grow, basically. And of course, he's a pure outside corner at that size. Another guy with one of my favorites who's starting to get some traction is Max Melton from Rutgers. Yes, he is Bo Melton's brother. I mentioned it a number of times on Twitter, so I guess some people didn't see those tweets or know about it. But yes, he is Bo Melton's brother. He's played the same school. Some I've been saying for a long time that he has so much as his brother is he has that dog in him, because he's a physical dude. He's a run defender. He does not shy away from contact. He'll hit you. He'll tackle. He's a good tackler. He doesn't care. And something that even though his brother plays the offense, you can see his brother has that in him too. So that's something that they have in them both. They both play hard. And he's played both actually a lot of slot and outside. So he has experience all around. And he's got good ball skills. He actually has had 8 interceptions, 16 pass breakups in the last 3 seasons, which, when you're playing at Rutgers and you're basically the best guy on the defense, that's pretty good, because most teams are going to try and shy away from you for the most part. And so he is a good athlete, not as much as his brother. His brother's kind of a freak athlete, 9-point-something RAS. But of course, he's bigger than his brother. He's about 6 foot, about 190 pounds. So a little bit bigger, a little bit less of an athlete, but but again, similar physical play style. He can play like I said, he can play the slot as a rookie because he has experience there, and he looks fine there. He looks good, and he can do it. He has the foot quickness and all that. So, he can do that as a rookie. He can come in and play the slot, play some special teams, stuff like that. The main thing he needs to work on is his aggressiveness at finding the times when not to be aggressive. Kind of covering that. Another guy, Kyrie Jackson from Oregon. He is a 1-year starter. He was a transfer from Alabama, and he didn't play much his first 2 years at Alabama, and then he became a starter this year. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. That's going to be something that's a question about him, his lack of experience. Is he ready for the NFL level yet or not? That's going to be something to keep an eye on in the practices, see how he does in coverages. But he's a bigger dude, 6'3", 195 listed. Expected to run in the mid 4.5s, maybe low 4.5 range. So not super fast, but because of his size, it's probably okay speed. And so he showed some flashes as a blitzer. He had 3 interceptions and 8 pass breakups this year. And but like I said, he is still raw. And if the Packers drafted him, he'd probably play mostly special teams and be like maybe the number 4 corner, dime back, or whatever as a rookie. Just because of his size, he's probably not gonna play slot, not gonna play in the nickel. So he's gonna be a pure outside corner. The next guy, Enos Rakestraw from Missouri. He's starting to get a little bit of hype, but he's a 2-year starter listed at 6 foot 188. He's an aggressive tackler who's not afraid to get physical, to get into the run game. And, he clicks and closes and explodes out of his stance when he sees, that the run game action in front of him, or the receiver making a catch in front of him, or what have you. He's looked good in press and man coverage. The only thing is Missouri uses a lot of bail. So it's something you got to kind of watch for. You got to keep watching film on him. Just because they have their guys in a lot of bail, and you don't see as much bail in the NFL. But he's gotten his hand on some balls. He's gotten 12 pass breakups in the last 2 years as a starter, and he's actually had over 200 snaps in the slot in the last 2 years, so about 100 each season. And he's shown he can do it. So I think he's got the foot quickness again to do it. So I think if he came in as a rookie, he could be the nickelback as a rookie and just kind of mix it up. And see some snaps on the outside as well, but play a lot in the nickel, and of course some special teams and stuff like that. And the next guy on my list, Quincy Riley from Louisville, about 6 foot 185. So the weight's a little off, but again, it's like 5 pounds. So I don't see why he wouldn't be able to put it on. We'll see. Maybe he'll come in 180 pounds. We don't know, but he's in that weight range where he's close. So I'm going to still count him. But he's really athletic, an elite athlete. He should test in that elite range. But he started out at Minnesota, Tennessee State originally, and was really solid. And he's been really solid. He was a really solid player for his first 4 years or what have you. But he really took off this past season, where he had 3 interceptions and 10 pass breakups. But he's been, like I said, he's been consistently good in coverage. And his one defense was kind of spotty previous years. Sometimes he'd make a good play. Sometimes he kind of avoid. Sometimes he just was kind of with the run game. But this past season started playing a lot more consistent, a lot better than run game. But as a rookie, he would probably start playing mostly special teams and be like number 4 corner. While he kind of learns, and maybe we'll see if he can play slot. I don't know. He hasn't played much slot in his career, but we'll see. They would see if he can do it or not. Okay, so next guy would be Kalen Carson from Wake Forest. Another good-sized guy, about 6 foot 185, and he runs in the sub 4.5 range. So he's definitely fast enough there. He has experience playing inside and out again. And he's not a big ball production type guy. He'll get his hands on some balls here and there, pass breakups, some of that, but he's not really going to get a lot of interceptions. That's just not his game. But he's a good tackler, but he could be more consistent just in general. And as a rookie, he probably just come in and play special teams and the slot and that type of stuff. Next corner, because this is kind of a long list. Next corner, Josh Newton from TCU, 5'11", 188, confirmed 4.43 range speed. He was a transfer from Louisiana Monroe. He's got really good ball skills, actually. He's got 6 interceptions and 22 pass breakups over the last season, 3 seasons, sorry. But he can be a little inconsistent sometimes in coverage, getting sloppy with his technique and whatnot. And he's gotten beat in the red zone a few times. But he's had 150 snaps in the slot over his career, so not a lot. So that's something to monitor, to keep an eye on in the Senior Bowl practices and the combine and stuff like that, to see if can he do it in the NFL. I think he can, but we'll see. Again, like I said, 150 over his career is not a lot, so that's something to keep an eye on. And then as a rookie, he would obviously come in, play special teams, be a gunner because of that speed and athleticism. And then, we'll see where he would slot in, maybe number 3. Maybe he can play slot, maybe can't. We'll see. That's what we'd have to wait and see. Another guy, Johnny Dixon from Penn State, listed at 5'11", or no, I'm sorry, no, confirmed size of 5'11", 185. He's always shown flashes in his career, but he's never completely put it all together and been consistent. He has 4.5 speed, and he experienced all over the secondary, playing slot, outside, nickel, all this other stuff. So really, it's just he could play really anywhere as a rookie. He could play outside. He could play slot. He would probably play special teams, of course, stuff like that. So we'll see with that. It's just going to be interesting to see if he can show some consistency, not just showing flashes. Another guy, Andrew Phillips from Kentucky, 5'10", and he's 5'10" and 5'8", so just tall enough on their athletic thresholds for their corners. Another guy that's a few pounds light, but he's at 184 pounds, but he's within range where he could put on the few pounds, and he'd be within the Packers, limits. He's got good arm length. He's almost got 32 inches arm for a guy that's like a little over 5'10", 32 inches arms is pretty good. And he runs fast. He's fast, dude. He runs in the low 4.4s, but he's actually played a lot in the slot. He's played a lot in the outside too. He's played kind of almost 50-50 in both, but he has almost 400 snaps in the slot of the last 2 years. So almost 200 snaps a season and playing in the slot. So that's a significant amount. So that shows he can do it. And, he's been pretty, but he can do it. Like I said, so I think that's where he would start off. And if he came to Green Bay, if he showed that he's ready to play, he would probably play the slot in Green Bay and play some special teams. His play, what's interesting about him, his play was pretty average. He was not really on my boards or my draft database up until this past season, because all the years before, he was kind of he was kind of okay. He was a guy you would think like, maybe gets a camp invite somewhere, maybe ends up in the CFL, something like that, whatever. But he really took up a big notch this season. So, he's on the Packers board, obviously, like I said. The only interesting thing is he hasn't had a single interception in his career, which is kind of interesting. So you do wonder also with the play of the previous years, Is he more just athlete than player? That's something it's hard to say, like I said, because he just has 1 year production. So that's something to keep an eye on and monitor as far as how his play goes the Senior Bowl and how he looks in drills and stuff, the combine and all that type of stuff. So my final corner on this list from the Senior Bowl is Kalen King from Penn State. No official measurements, but he's listed at 5'11", 190, and he's expected to run like a high 4.4s. So not an elite athlete, but athletic enough. It's weird because his play was really down this past season after having a really good year, especially in coverage last year. Last year, he had 3 interceptions, 9 pass breakups. He just was looking like he was going to be possibly the number 1 quarter this year. And then this year came, and he was just kind of inconsistent, kind of mad, just not that great. So that's going to be the thing that's interesting to monitor to see if is 2022 the real him? Was that the real him? Or was just 2023 something else caused him not to play as well here? Maybe some minor injury that nobody knew about, or, he has some sort of personal issues he was dealing with or something, or maybe there's some sort of scheme stuff they changed with Penn State. That's going to be something to keep an eye on, like I said. And another weakness, though, the thing is he is not a great run defender. So we would say that. I mean, the Packers don't seem to care too much about guys being great run defenders at corner, but it, of course, obviously always helps. So moving on to safeties, we got a good decent amount of safeties here that could fit the Packers. It's not a great group overall if you're looking for some elite guy in this class, but there's guys who can play in the league. So my first guy, Bo Braid from Maryland, he's just a solid around dude. Not elite, as a player or as a skill set, but he can play free safety, he can play strong, he can play in the slot, he can play an overhang defender, he can blitz. I'm sorry, he can't blitz. I'm sorry, got mixed up the wrong guy. He's not much of a blitzer, but he's had 3 interceptions, 9 pass breakups over the last 2 years. He has some similarities to, at least to me, as far as a skill set and stuff like that, to Adrian Amos. Not as big as Adrian. He's about 6 foot 201. But he has some similarities, and just he's an overall solid dude. Good communicator, smart guy, but he's not gonna make a lot of big plays. But he's good speed, probably about mid 4.4 speed, so like 4.44, 4.45, stuff like that, 4.46. And he would probably come in and probably start as a rookie. At worst, he'd be the number 3 safety, depending on who else is on the roster, of course. But he could easily start as a rookie. Another guy, Malik Mustafa from Wake Forest. 5'11", 207. He's a strong safety who's played most of his snaps in the box, but has played some free and some slot. He's looked at more, probably, like I said, like a box strong safety NFL. The Packers aren't really big on those type of guys, so we'll see if he's on their board. I think right now, maybe. Like I said, I include him because I'm not 100% sure whether he is or not. He's supposed to be a really good athlete, so he should be able to test well enough for the Packers. But the question is, like I said, do the Packers view him as a box safety, like a pure box safety, or do they think he can do more? But he's a good run defender, like I said, but in coverages, he's been kind of okay, average in most of his career. But like I said, we'll see if maybe the Packers see some developmental potential with him. But he did show some growth in his coverage skills in 2023. And he also showed he can blitz. He can blitz, of course. As a rookie, if he came in, he'd probably be in the top 3. Again, of course, depending on who else they bring in or who else they bring back. Okay, so next safety, almost there, we're almost at the end, is Josh Proctor from Ohio State. 6-year guy, 6'2", 203 with about mid 4.5 speed. But he's missed big chunks of 2021 and 2022 with injuries. And then I believe he redshirted his first year, and his second year he didn't play super lot. So he doesn't have a super lot of snaps in his career. Of course, not all 100% his fault, but is what it is. But he's always been a solid player, but the only thing is he's been kind of inconsistent in the coverage. That maybe, again, like I said, due to the injuries and lack of playing time, even though he's a 6-year guy, he may still have some development in him if he can stay healthy. We'll see. But he's always been strong against the run and a decent tackler. But like I said, he'd probably come in and be like maybe the number 4 safety as a rookie, just because, like I said, the lack of snaps, lack of playing time and the injuries, I think, has hindered his development a little bit. So, but even though he's a 6-year senior, but we'll see. We'll see with him. Moving on, one of my guys I really like, Keaton Oladapo from Oregon State. He's one of the bigger safeties in this group. He's kind of on that fringe end of what the Packers will take as far as size-wise, because there's guys that will take that. They won't take bigger really big safeties. But he's right at there. They're around that size threshold. About 6'2", 214 confirmed. He's got solid athleticism. I mean, he's a 3-year starter, and he's definitely a force in the run. And he has shown improvement in coverage every year, especially in coverage. But every year you see him progressively get better and better and better. And that's something you always like to see as a scout and as an NFL team, because then you're thinking, okay, well, maybe this guy could still continue to keep getting better. But especially, like I said, in coverage, he's shown a lot of growth from his freshman year till now. And this year actually was his best year as far as production-wise in coverage, where he had 2 interceptions and 7 pass breakups. And he's even shown he can be an effective blitzer. He's had 6 sacks since he's became a starter in his career, and he's seen good distribution of his snaps, or in different play all over. He's played in the slot, he's played some overhang defender type roles, played some free safety, played strong safety course. And I feel like if he came in as a rookie, he would have a really good chance of starting. Again, similar to the other guys. Depends on who else they bring in. Maybe they bring in a free agent, whatever. But he would have a shot at starting as a rookie. Okay, next one, Sione Vaki from Utah. Interesting thing with him is he actually just has 2 seasons of college football. He was able to enter the draft because he took a Mormon mission, his 2-year Mormon mission out of high school. So he is technically 4 years out of high school. So he could have technically entered the draft last year. But anyway, so he played a lot in the slot in 2022, but then this year he kind of played all over. He's even a lot of people know this, but he played on the offense a lot this past year because Utah had a bunch of injuries. He played running back and a little bit of receiver, and he had some really big runs and catches and stuff like that. Just because he's this big, fast, explosive athlete. But the question about him as a safety is his agility and foot quickness. Just because he was really just a 1-year starter, and the year before he played slot he was a backup slot. So that's the one thing that's going to be interesting. Question about him for him to answer at the combine, and even to the senior, how he does in the Senior Bowl coverage and the coverage drills 1-on-1s. But from the start, as a rookie, he'd be a special team demon. Just because he plays with his hair on fire, he wants it. He's running and he wants to hit everything moving out there on the field. He's one of those type of guys. But his coverage just feels kind of be average. So, we'll see. He may not be on Green Bay's board just because of some of those things. But like I said, it's early on, so right now it's hard to say. So we'll just see where it goes from here and how he works out the combine and the Senior Bowl and stuff like that. Of course, the next guy is, if you've been following me for any small amount of time, my favorite safety in this class, Cameron Kinchens from Miami. He's a do-it-all safety. He has range for days. He can range from one end of the field to the other. He can track the ball. He can high point the ball. He can jump. He's a pretty good jumper. He's got a leaper. And he looks really smooth and easy when he does it. It doesn't look like he's trying hard. He just kind of almost floats over there. And, he may not be elite in any specific thing except for maybe his range is kind of close to elite, but he's just really, really, really good at everything. He's like high level at everything, if that makes sense. But he can pack a punch. He can hit. He'll miss an occasional tackle and he'll take some occasional bad angles, but it's nothing egregious or something extreme to worry about. And I feel like he has potential to make the Pro Bowl. And of course, that means I think that if he came in as a rookie, he'd probably start. Okay, next guy would be Javon Buller from Georgia. He played mostly actually free safety this year, but the year previously he played most of his career. He was playing in the slot. So some people thought he would be a slot defender, but this year he showed he could play some free safety, and he actually bulked up a little bit this year. Excuse me. So because previously he was listed at about 180 pounds. This past year is 195. He looks like he's bulked up. I don't know if he's 195 exactly, but he looks like he's bulked up, and he looks like he probably put on a few more pounds. So he has decent ball skills. The only question has been, some people have questioned about him is his athleticism. How athletic is he? So we'll see if he's like a Brian Branch clone, so to speak, as far as his testing, and whether that makes him on the Packers board or not. We would see. And if he came in as a rookie, he would play special teams and he'd probably play some slot while he learns and develops, and maybe he could play some free safety or strong safety or whatever. We'll see. So, final player to keep an eye on. Evan Williams from Oregon. He's not really this sounds bad. I don't mean this in a negative way, but he's not anything special, but he's just a solid dude. Just solid all around safety. Even back to when he was playing at Fresno, because he transferred to Oregon this past year from Fresno. So just has played all over, strong safety, free safety, slot, even play a little bit, had even taken some cornerback snaps here and there. And at the very least, coming in is his, how would you call it? Career potential, I would say. His career potential, at worst, he's probably a solid number 3 safety, but he could develop into a starter. The potential is still there. Of course, he has a lot of experience. Like I said, that started a bunch of years at Fresno, and then of course this past year at Oregon. And even this past year, he showed he could be potentially a weapon as a blitzer. He wasn't blitzed a super lot at Fresno, but Oregon blitzed him sometimes, and he looked like he could maybe contribute there as well in the NFL. No, the only question though is he hasn't had any interceptions the last 2 years. The year before that he had 3, and then before that he had like 0. So he doesn't have a lot of ball production. But again, like I said, just a solid all-around guy. Nothing really too special, but he kind of can do everything, contribute everywhere. Like I said, as a rookie, he'd probably come in and play special teams, probably play some slot, play some safety, be number 3, number 4 safety, maybe something like that. All right, and that is my list. Sorry it took up so long. I don't know if you guys actually watched all the way to the end. If you did, appreciate you guys sticking around. Hope you guys give me a thumbs up, because they say I guess that helps with algorithm and views and all that stuff. So hope you guys subscribe and enjoyed listening to me babble on about Senior Bowl players to keep an eye on for the Green Bay Packers. All right, and so y'all remember, go Pack Go, and have a good weekend. See you later.